What is good, y'all? Welcome back to the Report. Welcome back to a brand new video. We are back, and listen, man, we got to talk about Miami Heat basketball. It was a great win last night, but there is a lot of stuff that actually we can take away from this win and from these past few games that we have played. Make sure y'all drop a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let's get right into it. As we all know, the Miami Heat absolutely blew out the Sixers towards the end. And the third quarter, which is usually the worst quarter for a Heat fan to endure, was last night the best quarter by far. We outscored them by 20 plus points in that third quarter, and we did not look back. The Sixers had established a 19-point lead, which vanished as soon as Spoelstra had a stroke of genius and put in Alec Burks and Drew Smith in the game, and that completely changed the momentum of the game. Yesterday also marked the return of Jimmy Butler, which was amazing. 22. Great to have him back. Hopefully he can stay healthy. Hopefully he plays anything close to the way he played last night for the rest of the year, because then we will be absolutely on another level. No matter what people say, Tyler Hero has been the best player on this team so far. I get that this season. But this team, it goes as Jimmy Butler goes. And what I mean by that is he is the ceiling raiser. He is the player that, when he wants to be, can be a top 10 player in basketball, and like Embiid said, can potentially be the best player in basketball. But if he doesn't, and if he plays like the inconsistent Jimmy, we will lose games. But if he plays like the Jimmy we played last night, my God, we will be really hard to beat, because that Jimmy is the exact same version of Jimmy that we need for the rest of the season. Because if that Jimmy shows up every night, we're going to have a very good year for the rest of the season. Mark my words. This season will go as number 22 takes us. You know, however he plays, this season will be dependent solely, not solely, but mostly on his play, because he is the ceiling raiser of this team. This team will be a playoff team, a play-in team, if he's inconsistent. But if he is consistent and if he's putting up 25 to 28 points, or even 23 to 25 points, I don't want to put lofty expectations on him, but if he puts up anywhere close to 25 points per game this year, which will be a very tall task because he hasn't done that in a Heat uniform in the regular season yet, but if he's able to do anything close to that, maybe even above 22 or 23 points per game this season, and if he's looking aggressive, if he's looking engaged, we're going to have a really good season for the rest of the year. Mark my words. Great game by Jimmy, though. I mean, he was everywhere last night. Defense was amazing. The offense, 13 for 13 from the free throw line. Getting to the line has always been a big bread and butter thing for him. We made sure he got to the line. He capitalized. He was 100% from the free throw line. He made his 3-point attempt. He was 8 for 12 from the field. He was incredible. He absolutely took over this game, and I think he looks a lot healthier. I think the break did him well. He's going to get another 5 days now. So I think he's going to be very refreshed for this next stretch of games that we have coming up. So hopefully he plays anywhere close to the level he did last night for the rest of the year. So great game by him. I just want to say, everybody really pitched in. Bam didn't have his best scoring night. I must say that, but I really liked his defense on Joel Embiid, man. We held Joel Embiid to 11 points, and Joel Embiid, for the first time since 2018, did not attempt a single free throw. We're talking about a dude who will literally bait fouls, who is flopping all over the place to try to get a foul, and we made sure he did not get one call, bro. One call. Incredible defensive performance by Bam. That's the defensive performance that we need, because his defense has not been as good this year as it has in years past. His offense has been, a struggle at times, and he's had two, Bam-type games. The first game against Indiana and then the game against Washington. Apart from that, he's been pretty bad offensively. Defensively, he's looked not that great. He hasn't been bad, because Bam is never going to be a bad defender, but he's been like average defensively. We're not expecting that from him. We're expecting him to be the best defender in the world, which is what he is, in my opinion. And last night, he pulled off a performance very close to that. So, good defensive game by him, though. Want to see him get his offense back going, but defense was good. Hero has been one of our most consistent players this season, probably the most consistent player this season. We've been expecting good performances from him. He delivered. He had 20 points. He scored 20 points in, I think, 9 straight games or something. Or not 9 straight games, 7 straight games or something. So he's been looking really good. Yeah, no surprise there. And for the first time this season, we have seen a starting lineup that I have been wanting for a while now, and that is Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Jimmy Butler, Haywood Highsmith, Bam Adebayo. Now, Terry Rozier, no knock to Terry. He hasn't been good this season, and I don't know how much of that is related to that foot problem that he's been facing apparently for a while now. I don't know. I don't know if the foot problem is really what's been causing this play. I think it was good for him to get a breather last night. Just didn't look great, Terry, for the most part of this early season. Like, he just hasn't looked great. And I think a change of role with him coming off the bench would look a lot better than with him starting. And the reason is the starting lineup from last night, it didn't start off that great. I will say it wasn't the best starting lineup in the first quarter. I mean, they outscored us by 8 in the first quarter, and they established a 19-point lead, and it wasn't until we brought in like reserves that we came back. So the starting lineup actually didn't play that great in the first half, but you can see like in the second half, like when they get going, it's very hard to stop the starting lineup because Miami Heat are, last night we didn't show it, and people will be like, well, that's surprising because when I'm about to say it, they did not have a good 3-point shooting game last night. Sixers fans will be like, nah, y'all shot the ball so well. Like, that's the only reason y'all won. We only shot 29% from 3. Like, we did not shoot the ball well last night, and we still ended up winning by 20 points. Like, it was crazy. Our defense really just won us that game because offensively, we were having guys shoot the ball. Like, different guys were making threes at timely intervals. That's correct. But as a team, as a collective, only 29% from 3. So, like, it's not like we were shooting the skins out of the ball. We weren't. But this season, we have been top 5 in 3-point percentage. We have been top 5 in 3-point percentage. We have been pretty high up in 3-point attempts. And the reason for that is our offense is very predicated on driving kicks. And when you have a player like Jimmy Butler, when you have a player like Bam Adebayo, you need to surround them with floor spacers. You need to surround them with players who can play off the ball. Terry Rozier is a lot of things, but an off-the-ball player is not one of them. And I've been saying this since we traded for him. I don't think it's his best role to play off the ball. He wants the ball in his hands. And when he doesn't have it, he's just kind of out there. And if he's not getting his shot going, it's a tough game for him because he likes to take a lot of tough shots. Terry Rozier is a tough shot taker. And there's going to be nights where those shots don't go in, but he has to find a way to contribute if he's not making his shots. If he's not making his shots, he'll kind of get into this period where he's just shooting the ball and he doesn't really care that he's missing, which is good. Like, you need to have that confidence as a player, but at some point you need to know how to impact the game besides shooting. And in the preseason, he was doing that, but in the regular season, it's been tough for him. And I think coming off of the bench will allow him to full-time have the ball in his hands. So even if he's not shooting the ball well, he's going to be able to set up his teammates. He's not the best point guard, true point guard. He's more of a combo guard to me, but he's capable of making an open pass. He's capable of making the right read. And I think playing with the second unit where there's not as many chefs in the kitchen like there was in the starting lineup with Hero, Jimmy, and Bam, he'll have a lot more freedom. He'll be able to handle the ball a lot better. He'll be able to handle the ball more. He'll be able to take more of the playmaking responsibility. Even when his shot is not falling, he can still run the show off the bench. Very similar to kind of how Tyler did in 22. And when you insert Duncan Robinson in his place, you don't get as good of a, scorer, maybe off on the ball scorer. Duncan Robinson is nowhere near Terry, but off the ball, he's a million times better. And that's what we needed in the starting lineup next to Tyler Hero and Jimmy Butler. You need a guy who will space the floor with you. And we have 2 floor spacers in Duncan Robinson and Haywood Highsmith that we have inserted into the starting lineup, and 2 guys who are excellent at moving without the ball. Haywood is an excellent cutter. I don't know if people have noticed Haywood Highsmith's improvement, but his improvement as an offensive player has been night and day. He has improved so much as a cutter into the paint, and he is obviously improved as a shooter. People are going to talk about his shooting improvement because that's what is visible. But cutting to the rim has been one of his strengths this season, and I think you need that. You need a guy who's going to put pressure onto the rim. He's going to drag a defensive member with him when he's cutting. He's going to open up shots for another offensive player in the starting lineup. Nikola Jovic, we tried the experiment with him in the starting lineup. It did not work. And the reason is it's very similar to Terry Rozier. Nikola Jovic without the ball in his hands is not that great. We tried to turn him into a spot-up shooter. He has never been a spot-up shooter. He's always been a guy he's been like a big point guard at 6'10". That's what he is to me. He's like a 6'10" point guard. That was the intrigue with his name in the draft. So many scouts and people were like, yo, this guy's a 6'10" point guard. He can bring the ball up, he can pass, he can shoot, he can dribble. Like, he can do so many things at 6'10". And we have been turning him into a spot-up shooter, relegated into a catch-and-shoot player. And that's just not his game. And I think we have to come to the same realization with Terry Rozier and saying, listen, Terry Rozier can do a lot of things with the ball in his hands. He can drive to the rim. He can put pressure on the defense. He can get to the cup. That's the biggest thing that I think he brings to this team, is that he can put pressure on the rim. But when you have guys like Tyler Hero, you have guys like Jimmy Butler, you have guys like Bam already, especially Jimmy and Bam, who are paint-heavy players, you don't really need a Terry Rozier in the starting lineup along with them. You need some floor spacing. And Duncan Robinson is one of the best shooters in basketball, one of the best off-ball players in basketball, and not to mention Duncan Robinson has the best chemistry with Bam Adebayo on the floor out of anybody on this team. Out of anybody on this team, Duncan and Bam, the two-man game between them two is absolutely flawless. Whenever I see them two on the floor together, I'm confident that we're going to outscore the other team. They have some type of synergy, and they've had it since they've played together. One advantage of the starting lineup is that these 5 players who are in that starting lineup are like the core 5 players who have been here for some time now. Haywood, not so much, maybe a few years for Haywood, but Tyler, Duncan, Jimmy, Bam have been here since the build started. In 2020, they have been here. Duncan Robinson, Bam have been here since before that. Tyler was a rookie in 2020. Jimmy obviously came new to the team in 2020. But they have been here since 2020. We're 4 to 5 years in now. We're 2019, sorry. We're about 5 years in. And, going into, like the veteran part of this build, you have 5 players who know how to play basketball with each other. They know what each other's strengths and weaknesses are. They know that each other's tendencies. They know, most importantly, how to play off of each other. And that is important. That is important because that will really, really, really help this team. I was looking forward to seeing how the starting lineup would play last night. Now, in my hopes, I hope that if we had won this game convincingly, then Spoelstra would take a look at bringing Terry off the bench. I don't know if he's going to do that. I don't know if Spoelstra is going to bring Terry off the bench. I don't even know if Terry's going to want to come off the bench. Terry has said all the right things. He said how he wants to be a selfless player. I think he's going to buy into a bench role if Spo asks him. It's really just about if Spo wants to bring him off the bench. I think Spo should, because I think we have seen that the starting lineup can be good, especially in the second half of this last game we just played. Were incredible. And yeah, Terry Rozier, I think, should be off the bench, just like how Nikola Jovic is. I think it'll be a nice breath of fresh air for him to come off the bench. He'll have his own second unit to run. He won't have to really share the ball with too many people on the second unit. He's going to be able to, rock out and do his thing. So I like him off the bench for those reasons. And that's all I'm going to say about the starting lineup for now. You guys kind of get my point. A couple other things I want to talk about. Alec Burks, I don't know why he was not in the rotation. I've been saying it. You guys have seen me say it probably. Every single video, every single post, like, Alec Burks should be in the game, bro. Every single game, I've been saying it. I don't know why we have not put him in the game. I mean, some games we've been absolutely struggling to hit the three-point shot, and Alec Burks, every shot he takes seems to be going into me. Literally every shot he takes is automatic. He is a pro's pro. He's a very, very good shot maker. I feel like Alec Burks is just always going to be ready no matter what to shoot the ball. And you need players like that in your team, man. He's not scared of the moment, man. He'll take a tough shot. He'll make it. Like, he'll take an open shot. He'll make it. He'll make the right play. He's not going to play out of his role. He's not going to do anything stupid. He's going to just play the right way. He's going to make shots. He's going to have the game simple. He's going to be a good rotational piece. And I don't know why we have not been playing him. I would like to see him take the spot permanently of Josh Richardson in the second unit. I don't think Josh Richardson has been playing well at all this season. I think he's probably been our worst player. Out of any player who's been a rotational player, I think Jay Rich has been our worst player. And that's no shot to Jay Rich. We all love Jay Rich. He was the oldest player on this Heat team, like, who's been a part of the Heat. Like, not old by age, but he was here before anybody. Obviously, he left and came back when he got traded, but he was here since 2015. We don't have anybody on this roster who's been here that long. Like, he knows Heat culture more than anybody. Like, we developed this guy. He was a second round pick. He was in the 40s, and he was a breath of fresh air. I remember that 18 point per game season he had. He's just not the same player right now. He's not, which is fine. Defensively, I think he's lost a step. Offensively, he just cannot shoot the ball. Like, he's just not really a shooter anymore. And he just never really was a three-point shooter to me, especially when he had his really good season with us back in 2018, 2017. Like he was always like a mid-range guy, a slasher. He was never really a three-point shooter to me. And we're trying to have him play a three-point shooting role, and he's just not that guy to me to be a three-point shooter. You have Alec Burks, who's shooting the lights out of the ball. You have Pelle Larsson. Give those two his minutes. If you need Jay Rich for situational plays, maybe if you need a defensive stop, I can trust him over Alec Burks. Even though he's not the same defender he used to be, he's still a better defender than Alec Burks. But offensively, it's night and day. What you're getting from Alec Burks is so much more than what you're getting from Josh Richardson. That's why I don't want to see the Jay Rich minutes anymore. Maybe even like completely take them out or just cut them down, because we don't need him playing as many minutes as he is. In the one game that everybody was a positive plus minus, he was a negative 21, and that should tell you something. Again, nothing personal against Jay Rich. I love him as a teammate. I think he's a great locker room guy. But on the court, I just don't really know what he brings. I don't know at all. So just wanted to point that out. And then a couple of things before we wrap up the video. I've seen a lot of people talking about the draft. You know, people are talking about whether Kel'el Ware was the right pick. Jared McCain has had a great season so far. He had a great game last night. But people who watch college basketball would kind of have seen this coming. Like, people know that Jared McCain was an NBA-ready player. People know that Jared McCain was a guy who can just plug in and play on a championship contender. Jared McCain is a guy who can shoot the ball, and we all know that he's a high IQ offensive player. He's a very high IQ offensive player, and people who have watched college basketball, and forget college basketball, Jared McCain was a guy who was a 5-star prospect in high school. I've watched him since he was playing in Centennial back in California. He is a very popular person. Obviously, we've seen the TikToks and stuff, but Jared McCain is a hooper. And I'm still standing on the fact that I think the jury's out on Kel'el Ware. We have to give him some time. Kel'el Ware was never going to be the NBA-ready prospect that Jared McCain is right now, but Kel'el Ware, the reason we picked him was because of his potential, not because of his ability to play right now. So we knew what we were getting when we picked Kel'el Ware. Dalton Knecht, another guy who was an NBA-ready prospect, he's playing pretty well as well. So just because we have, you know, guys who are playing better than Kel'el Ware, who are picked after, and Jared McCain, Dalton Knecht, that doesn't mean that those were the best players for that pick. They are playing better right now because they are NBA-ready players. Kel'el Ware is a player with promise and potential. We don't know who the right pick is going to be until we give it 2-3 years. We can't make this decision after less than 20 games, man. Come on, guys. Y'all know better. Now, if Jared McCain ends up being better than Kel'el Ware, which is possible, I'm not saying it's not possible. Of course it's possible. They were picked neck and neck. They're both really good players. Then I will eat my words and say Jared McCain should have been the pick. But my point is, you have to give Kel'el Ware some time. I mean, the man barely plays NBA games. We don't really see him play too much. Give him some time, let him develop, let him put the work in, give him at least a couple years before, you know, judging him as a prospect. Like, he was never an NBA ready player who can play right away. I mean, people who have watched Kel'el Ware, and I've watched him since he was at Oregon. Forget that, since he was in high school and then went to Oregon. He struggled at Oregon massively. Then went to Indiana, was amazing for them. And Kel'el Ware, when we picked him, I said it. I was like, listen, he's not going to be a guy who's going to play right away. And I even said in my video, when we first picked Kel'el Ware, picked Pelle Larsson the next day, I said Pelle Larsson is going to play more than Kel'el Ware this season. And don't be surprised and don't be disappointed, because Kel'el Ware is not a player who's going to be ready to play right now. He has flashes of potential. He can shoot the ball at 7 feet. He can protect the rim. But he needs to work on a few things. And those few things are his block happiness, very Hassan Whiteside-like, his energy, his motor, his fatigue. He runs out of gas. If he can just hone those parts of his game, he can work on his hands a little bit, just work on his timing with his defensive rim protection, work on staying in front of an offensive player on the perimeter, and just, just tighten his jumper and just become more of a presence in the paint. You will have a very, very good player for the future. Just give him some time, man. Give him some time. And yeah, that's really all I had. On the Heat. It was a great game last night. The Sixers looked to be in absolute turmoil. I don't know what's going on with them, but they had a team meeting and Maxey reportedly challenged Embiid. But we're good over here, man. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section below about this team. I'll see y'all later as always. Have a nice day. Peace.